Om Nainam Chindanti Shastrani Nainam Dahati Pavakaha Nachainam Kledayantyapo Nashoshayati Marutaha. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor be burned by fire. It can't be drenched by water or withered away by the wind. Later on in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord goes on to say, Om Ityekaksharam Brahma Vyaharan Mamanusmaran Yah Prayati Tyajan Deham Sayati Paramam Gatim. One who conducts his life fully engaged in yoga, immersed in the divine syllable Om, after quitting his body, attains Paramagati, the supreme state of union with divinity. Ananyacheta satatam yomam smarati nityashah tasyaham sulabha partha nityayuktasya yoginah. And the Lord further says, one who is always immersed in my thoughts, who's constantly engaged in yoga and in devotion, who's not deterred by anything, for him, O Partha, attaining me, attaining union with the divine spirit is easy. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Dr. Kedarnath, for such a wonderful introduction to our memorial service. It's hard to believe and accept that Pandit Jasraj will now be living in our memories. But at the same time, it is an assurance that memories can retain him with us much longer than we physically could. And there is no doubt amongst us that he is now and is going to be in that divine union. He worked all his life towards that, through his living, through his music, and till his last breath. Breath, pran, and he did mention about that at his last performance, that those were the final words he spoke during his last performance at the Chhandayan all-night concert in 2019, just a few days ago. Today we have some wonderful musicians who have had experiences with Panditji to share. We have Vidushi Indrani Mukherjee, Vidushi Mita Nag from the younger generation, Dr. Nagaraj Rao Havaldar, a veteran vocalist, joining us from Bangalore, and that is Dr. Kedar Nafre from New Jersey. I would like to start with Mita ji, Vidushi Mita Nag, daughter of Pandit Mulilal Nag, granddaughter of Pandit Gokul Nag, to hear her experience of Panditji.
Namaste to all eminent guests and musicians. Before everything else, I convey all of you my warmest regards and best wishes on the occasion of the auspicious Ganesh Chaturthi. Although today we have assembled here to pay our tribute to legendary maestro, most revered Pandit Jasraj, whose soul is now one with the eternal. Yet, I think this special day of remembering him on the day of this special puja is something worth it, because Pandit Jasraj was a musician who had dedicated his entire life in the worship and sadhana of the Supreme Being. So, on this occasion, I pay my humble homage to this great legend of Indian classical music, and I offer my deep pranam to the departed soul. May his soul rest in peace. My recollection of late Panditji goes back to my childhood years when I used to attend different music conferences in Kolkata as well as outstation with my father. So when my father had his recitals, he used to take me along with him. And on one such occasion, I remember having met Panditji for the first time when I was about 10 years old at Allahabad Prayag Sangeet Samiti. The then Dean of the Music Department, late Shri Pramod Ranjan Bhattacharya, he was like my dad's elder brother, and the two families shared a very cordial relationship. So there I first met revered Pandit Jasraj, and I was just mesmerized seeing him, his style of singing, his towering presence on the stage. And after the concert, actually, I was not in an age really to realize or understand the content of his song, but the tune fascinated me, and the auditorium was just reverberating with the deep voice, with his nad. He was singing, and when he was singing, that all those nad chords, like everywhere, it was resonating. After that, my dad took me to him after the concert and introduced me to him. I touched his lotus feet and he blessed me. And I just remember another occasion when at Kolam Mundir he had come for his recital, and the entire family we had been to listen to his recital. After the recital, we just met him in the green room, and where a most respected Madhuraji was also present. And then he told me, "Oh, I see you have grown up. So I hope you are practicing hard. And I want that one day also you will play very nicely, following your father's footsteps." So these are the two occasions I remember. But then I never met him during my performing career. I really never met him in person, but I used to attend his recitals. And of course, I am a great, great fan of his songs, and especially the style that he innovated, the Jashrangi style, where by applying the Murchana and the Sharajgram and Gandhargram and Madhyamgram, the male voice and the female voice can collaborate in a single recital by transposing the Murchana, and they can sing two ragas in two different scales, but it just seems like one song. And that special style had a great appeal for me, and I sometimes wondered that we could also collaborate with a female voice and a sitar, which is usually in pitch C sharp or D, with this kind of a style. So I again pray for his soul, and let us all remember him with all humility and just pay our deepest tribute to him on this occasion.
Thank you, Mitaji. Thank you so much. We have Suman Ghosh on his way back from Mumbai, on his way to home in Houston. I would ask him to share some of his experiences. He was one of the closest disciples of Panditji. His experiences of receiving talim from Guruji. Pandit Suman Ghosh.
Thank you, Samita. Namaskar. Thank you, Samita. Thank you, everybody, and my greetings to the wonderful audience of the program. I truly appreciate this great initiative by you. I'm on my way back. My apologies for having my face covered in this manner. I'm in the flight. It's about to take off. In fact, I'm coming back from India after his last rites and all. I was one of those, myself and my Guru Priji. We carried him back to his motherland, and now I'm on my way back. So, lot to share, lot to say about the whole experience I've had with my Guru, the great Sangeeth Master. It's very difficult to, put it together in a concise form, but this much I can say, that musically and otherwise, he was an exceptional person. He gave us so much love, his compassion, his love for nature, his love for his motherland, all were exceptional. As a disciple, I can say I've learned so much from him, not just about music, but about life. How to be a good person, he taught everything. I'm very sorry for the background noise here. I hope you can hear me. I hope
yes.
And training-wise, talim-wise, his sincerity and his mastery, of course, the world knows. I can only share an incident with you. Last year, he came to us He visited us in Houston. So when he was on his way to Houston, due to some storm system in the eastern zone, it took 3 days for him to arrive in Houston. So all these 3 days, he had long waits at the airport, very long waits. So you can imagine at the age of 89, somebody can get really tired, and he was also. But finally, when he arrived, he was looking and he was tired. So we picked him up from the airport, went home, and we were very worried that, how to make him feel comfortable so that he can recover, because the concert was the very next day also. So he told my wife, better make some coffee for me. I would like to have some coffee. And as she was making coffee, we heard some tanpura sound from his room. So we went to his room and we found he was sitting on his chair and my son was on the floor in front of him, rendering a long detailed alap on Raga Bhairav, and then a Vilambit and then Roop and all. And he was listening with avid attention. So I believe he told him upon arrival that I need 5 minutes to freshen up. Meanwhile, pull out your tanpura and sing before me what you have been practicing these days. So he heard him. So that's the quintessential guru in him. And before leaving in that trip, he gave me the essential guidelines as to how to nurture him further. And then after every week, he would ask me, how is he doing? How is everything? Is he practicing well? What all he is doing? And many other details. So he wasn't just Sangeet Matan Pandit Jasraj, the great performer, the great artist who has enthralled the audience for decades after decades. He wasn't just that. He was a guru. He was a great guru. And we have lost him. Sorry for being emotional. I'm still unable to recover.
Yeah.
I'm unable to believe that he's there. That's all.
Yeah, Shuman.
I beg your apology.
Life will not be the same for any of us, those who were blessed by his company, and particularly for you. He was always so proud of you. And when you won the award in Houston, he would call me up and say, Sami Babu, do you know? Shuman has been awarded. And it's, more than a father. Perhaps a combination of
He
guru
was
and father.
my father. He was my second father. He was my spiritual guide. He was my musical guru. He was my mentor. What all he was. Everything. Everything. I'm so grateful to the Almighty Supreme for just allowing him the opportunity to be with him in this lifetime. That's achievement enough, that's fulfillment enough for me in this lifetime.
Be safe. This is what we refer to as the Guru Dasha. Be safe, be mindful of your movements, and Guruji will protect you in every moment of your life henceforth. Safe journey
My
back home.
namaskar to all of you. My respect to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. From the younger generation of musicians, we have Vidushi Indrani Mukherjee, a wonderful vocalist from Calcutta, who recently shared an experience she had from her early childhood, listening to Panditji from the lap of her parents, which changed her life. And that's why, perhaps one of the reasons why she's singing today. If music could do that, maybe that's what I would like to do in my life. Indrani Mukherjee.
My pranam. My pranam to all of you, all the respected musicians. before going to say anything about my experience, I want to sing something as a prayer towards him. Krishna Vandana. Krishna Vandana from Sri Krishna Karanamritam. Kasturi tilakam lalat phalake vakshasthale kaustubham नासाग्रे नवमोक्तिकं करतले वेणुं करे कंकणम् सर्वांगे हरिचन्दनं च कननं कण्ठे च मुक्तावलिं गोपस्ते परिवेष्टितो विजयते गोपाल चूड़ामणि सायंकाले वनान्ते कुसुमित समये सैकते चन्द्रिकायां त्रैलोक्याकर्षणाङ्गं सुरनरगणिका मोहनाङ्गं मूर्तिं सेव्यम् शृङ्गारभावैः नवरसभरितैः गोपकन्या सहस्रैः वन्देऽहं रासकेली रतमति शुभांगम् वत्स गोपाल कृष्ण वत्स गोपाल कृष्ण वत्स गोपाल कृष्ण It's an honor for me to be here and to get the opportunity to sharing my feeling, my experience from my childhood. I never got the opportunity to meet him in person, but something happened in my childhood that it stays in my life, in my memory. So I was very young and I was not allowed to go to the concert hall, all-night concert hall. But one day I got the opportunity and I went with my parents to the concert of Pandit Ji. It was an all-night concert and it was in a pandal, not in an auditorium. Thousands of people were there. For me, it is hard to see the stage because I was really small. But I could see someone performing with his Swaramandal, accompanied by tabla, harmonium, and very big tanpura, 2 tanpuras. I was hallucinating and was under the impression that I was the sole person listening to the concert and nothing else mattered to me at that moment. Early in the morning when we were returning home, I have heard a new word for me, Rag Darbari and Pandit Jasraj ji. After several years of my sadhana, my dedication, as a serious student of music, I realize that Sangeeth Martand Pandit Jasraj ji and Rag Darbari are 2 references of the same soul. This much realization, I really have that. And my pranam to the great soul. Shomita, we couldn't hear you. We are mute. Yeah.
Sorry, sir, I was muted. It's better to be that way today. Rather listening to you speaking, that weave the thread. So thank you for sharing your wonderful experiences with us, which made such a difference in your life and career. And I'm sure he touched many more souls in the same way, inspiring them, drawing them towards music, drawing them towards spirituality, divinity. Mita Nag, Vidushi Mita Nag just had to leave because she has another interview today. Should we take a few moments to listen to Panditji's rendition, a short rendition, and then we will come back to listen to Pandit Chhandayan Chhandayan.
पद्मनाभं च पीताम्बरं पद्मनाभं च पीताम्बरं पद्मनाभं पीताम्बरं पद्मनाभं पीताम्बरं पीताम्बरं पद्मनाभं पद्माक्षं पुरुषोत्तमं पद्मजं पुरुषोत्तमं पवित्रं पद्मनन्दं पवित्रं परमानन्दं त्वं वन्दे परमेश्वरम् परमेश्वरम् नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय 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 नमो भगवते
That was an excerpt from Panditji's performance at the 2019 all-night concert, and we will get to hear what he said towards the end at the very end of that performance. We have Pandit Jasraj here with us to share his personal experiences with Panditji.
Namaskar. First of all, I would like to convey my regards and pranams to the great soul, the great genius, Pandit Jasraj. And I am also very much privileged and honored to have been invited to say a few words towards his departed soul. I definitely feel that from my childhood, what I felt that there have been some great musicians, and for that I feel very lucky and fortunate that I was born in the era of the great musicians, the real legends of Indian classical music, and that era, the last musician probably was Pandit Jasraj. When I was listening to his this 2019 concert, my feeling was absolutely in different mood. Like you, I got drenched and feeling very, emotional because just last year I had a concert in New Jersey, and that is the last time I have met him. He invited me at his residence in Edison, New Jersey, where I had been there, and we had long chat, and you know, it's very difficult to give the kind of experiences what I had, the generation of that particular, era. Like I have been fortunate to have the gurus like Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, Vidushi Girija Devi, Kishori ji, and so many like Vim Sen ji. And on that particular basis, I definitely would like to share the thought that mostly those musicians who the were like the umbrellas of our generations, who used to have that kind of caliber and the rights to say or scold or whatever they would feel they could say and comment to us that this has to be done and this is the way you should follow. So, in that way, actually, I feel that we are losing everybody, and he was the last of this era. From my childhood, what I felt that the music and the spirituality and the philosophy of music, what everybody should follow. Our generation was fortunate enough to witness this kind of musicians' performances, which really led us to be at least 1,000th of their caliber. The example and the instances they have created through their art form, I think as long as Indian classical music will be alive, their names will be there. In fact, as most of the people must be knowing that I have started uh, a very big festival, which is supposed to be one of the prime and premier festival of the country in the name of my guru, Sar Samrat Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab. When I started this festival in 2013, in 2012, I had requested Pandit Ji to be part of this festival. And he was very close and very, dear brother to my Guruji. And in Calcutta, when he used to be staying in South Calcutta, almost they used to stay maybe 3 4 houses apart from the 22 and 27 at Kobe Road residence in South Calcutta. So from that time, he was very very close to Baba, also Ali Akbar Khan Sahib. And as soon as I had approached him, he immediately told that you are doing for Dada, I'll be definitely there. And I still remember in the inauguration, all that stalwarts were there who were very close to Baba, Asad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab. Pandit Jasraj ji was there, Bidushi Girija Devi ji was there, Pandit Shankar Ghosh, he was also there. We lost three of them. And he was the last item, last artist of the whole night. And he started at 4 4 a.m., 4:10 a.m., like that. And you know, it was like it was full house Nazri Manch of 4,000 people, and he performed for 3 hours, almost 3 hours, 2 hours 50 minutes. He performed, and the kind of dedication, the sincerity, and the spiritual impact on the full house concert, still a lot of people can remember that. And that time he was only 83 years of young man, like kind of performance what he had proven. So these are the lessons actually we had got from him. And I think he must be enjoying his next life with all his colleagues and dadas and all the great musicians over there, and must be having with great music and all the good times. My sincere pranams and Shashtang pranam to this great soul. And also, I think he had proved that as a musician, not only as a musician, he has become a successful guru, teacher. He had brought up so many students all over the world, and the success of a teacher always keeps remains through their teachers through their students performance and how they are going to carry forward, and definitely they will be taking forward more. And Jasrajji's all creations and his gaiki and all the spirituality will be taken forward by his students. Thank you. Namaskar. Pranam.
Thank you, Tajendraji. On that note of his performance at your conference, how he sang, how he completely dedicated himself, I can recollect occasions. There was one time I was performing, I was lucky to perform with him at the University of Pittsburgh in the Belfield Auditorium. It was packed, and he was scheduled to perform. People thought that at that age, it was pretty much around 83, 85 at the time. He was supposed to perform. People thought that it would just 3 hours. Maybe he would take a short break for half an hour, the usual format. We could not understand why he sang for 5 hours. And of course, not a single person left the auditorium. And they were all being soaked up with melody. After the concert, when we were all busy packing up, we could not find Panditji. And I was a little worried because, usually he would be around greeting people. Then it struck me that maybe he might be upstairs in the green room. Normally he would wait for everyone to guide him, escort him. He went to the corridor, pressed the elevator button, went up to the third floor, to the green room, and when I found him, he was literally drowned in the sofa without any amount of energy left in him. I sat down under his feet and asked, Panditji, why do you do that? Why do you go this far? Your body may not. And he said, Samir Babu, that's how you used to address me. People have driven 5-6 hours just to come to this concert to listen to you. I needed to give something to them. This is the kind of amount of commitment they had. When Tajendraji was talking about the generation we're just losing, there was another occasion at Secaucus Convention Center. There was a Mahakumbha Mela, the local spiritual leaders organized that. And of course, that Mela would never be complete without his singing. So he was scheduled to sing only for 45 minutes. And he kept on singing for 2.5 hours. And then, because they had other things on the schedule, everything got just forgotten. Let's just listen to this. Same thing, we escorted him. 2 days later, he had the quintuple bypass surgery. But when he's there on the stage, his commitment to music, his commitment to the listeners, whoever it might be, it didn't matter how knowledgeable that person is or how devoted that person is. He literally meant when he said that I see God in all of you, he literally meant it. Being on stage with him, I can vouch for it. Definitely. It was always genuine and honest. We have the respected Pandit Rajan and Sajan Mishra ji joining us from New Delhi. Rajan Sajanji, with your permission, should we listen to another video now, or would like to hear your experiences of being in the company of Panditji? Vidushi Kala Ramnathji has joined from San Francisco, and Rajan Sajanji is also here. Maybe we should just listen to another short excerpt of Guruji's music, and then we will talk.
Ah पीर पैगंबर जाने पीर पैगंबर जाने पीर पैगंबर जाने पीर पैगंबर जाने पीर Ali Nabi Ali Jaya Allah Ali Nabi 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 Ali 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 Nabi Ali Nabi Ali Nabi Ali Nabi Ali 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 Ali
We had so many such joyous moments on stage, you know. He was so much alive at every moment of his living. Kidaji, you recollect that night?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Sumanji was talking about how great a guru Jasraj was. And I remember that year I was just starting my performance career, and it was such an intimidating occasion for me at the beginning of my career. This was 97, 98, almost 20 years ago, something like that, Shamirda.
This was 2001, I guess.
2001. I think, if I remember right, Tejenda was also there that year. Namaste, Rajan Sajanji. Namaste, Kalaji. I remember just one thing I will say. In the green room, when we first went, and we gave him sur for Kanpura, and then we did a little bit of practice. He was so gracious, and he, recognizing how intimidated I was in accompanying him, he was so gracious in, on the one hand, complimenting me on the things that I was doing right, and on the other hand, like you would tell a small child, also telling me the things that he would rather I not do. And he made me feel so comfortable just in a matter of 5 or 10 minutes. I will never forget that. It's been a, you've grown up with his music ever since I was a young child, of course, and it's been a true honor to have been blessed by his presence so many times during my life, including the last concert in 2019. And I was going to talk about what he said, but I think we're going to hear that later. So I'm not going to steal the thunder. But the humility that he had, even in his last concert at 89 or 90 years of age, was just so deeply touching. It's a great honor to be here and a great honor to have been touched by him.
Thank you, Kedarji. We don't want to keep Pandit Rajan Sajanji waiting. The benefit of keeping you waiting is that we will get you company for longer duration, where at the same time we should honor your presence and would like to hear a few words from you, both of you, about your experiences of being with Panditji in so many different occasions.
नमस्कार सभी को। और पंडित जी के साथ हमारी 50 साल से एसोसिएशन रहा है और हमें जो उन्होंने प्यार दिया, he has given us his blessings and love which we cannot forget for our whole life. और ऐसे ऐसे जगहों पे अम्बाला में आज से 45 साल पहले उन्होंने कहा कि चलिए आप लोग गाइए, मैं तबला बजाता हूँ, तो लेके तबला बैठ गए बजाने के लिए। हनुमान मंदिर में, न्यूयॉर्क के हनुमान मंदिर में प्रोग्राम था, तो पूरा प्रोग्राम सुन के उन्होंने इतना आशीर्वाद दिया, इतना हमें स्नेह दिया। हमारे 60वें वर्षगांठ पे पूना में उन्होंने पूरी ऑडियंस के सामने हम लोगों का अपना प्यार उन्होंने दिया। पिछले साल 2 साल पहले न्यू जर्सी में भी एक कार्यक्रम था उन्हीं के एकेडमी में, तो वहाँ भी हम लोगों को बहुत स्नेह प्यार दिया। और वो एक महान कलाकार थे, सिर्फ कला में नहीं बल्कि वो इंसानियत में भी बहुत बड़े थे। जिससे एक बार उनका संबंध होता था उसको वो जीवन भर उस संबंध को निभाते थे। दैट वाज हिज ब्यूटी ऑफ हिज पर्सनालिटी।
बहुत उनसे क्या कहा जाए, अब तो हमारे बीच नहीं रहे। अभी पिछले वर्ष क्या, इसी वर्ष 2019 के जनवरी में उनसे मुलाकात हुई अहमदाबाद में, और उनका 90 ईयर हम लोग सेलिब्रेट कर रहे थे, साथ में थे स्टेज पे। और पंडित जी से हम लोगों ने ऐसे ही कहा, हमने ऐसे ही पूछा कि पंडित जी आप इस उम्र में गा रहे हैं, हम लोगों का क्या होगा? तो बोले हंस के कि मुझे तो सेंचुरी मारना है और आप अभी की बात कर रहे हैं। तो हमने कहा कि नहीं, बोले ये धारणा मन में होनी चाहिए कि हमें आगे का लक्ष्य देख के अपने जीवन को चलना है। तो ये बहुत सारी छोटी छोटी बातें, हैदराबाद में उनके अपने पिताजी के मेमोरी में, भाई साहब के मेमोरी में जो कॉन्सर्ट होता है उसमें इतने खुश हुए कि स्टेज पर आके गले लगाए। तो हम लोगों के लिए तो ये सबसे बड़ा सौभाग्य का बात है कि इतने बड़े कलाकार इतनी सहजता और ऐसे प्यार से आके लपटाते थे। वो हमेशा मिलते थे तो हम लोग को ऐसे प्यार करते थे। तो ये एक अपनेपन का सूचक है। और सबसे बड़ी बात, एक और आपको सरप्राइज बात बताएं, हम लोग को 2007 में पद्म भूषण जब मिला तो कोई हम लोग को टेलीग्राम नहीं, कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं था। हम लोग डोबर लेन में गाने के लिए गए हुए थे, तो हमारा 1:30 बजे कार्यक्रम था। करीब 12:45 बजे पंडित जी का फ़ोन भैया के फ़ोन पे आता है और वो बोलते हैं, राजन बाबू, साजन बाबू, आप दोनों को बहुत बहुत बधाई हो। तो हम लोगों ने सोचा प्रोग्राम के लिए बधाई दे रहे हैं, आशीर्वाद। तो भैया ने कहा अरे बिल्कुल आप आशीर्वाद दीजिए। बोले नहीं, खूब अच्छा गाइए, जय हो। और फिर बाद में पता लगा कि वो तो बधाई हम लोगों को पद्म भूषण का दे रहे थे। तो कितना अपनापन था उनका, और बहुत ज़्यादा प्यार उन्होंने दिया, बहुत आशीर्वाद दिया, और ऐसे बड़ों लोगों का आशीर्वाद हमेशा सर पे रहे। वही हमने एक इंटरव्यू में कहा है कि हमारे एक तरह से वो छत्र थे, अम्ब्रेला की तरह थे। उनको देख के, उनको जान के कितने लोगों ने गाना को अपनाया, और पूरे विश्व में क्या, स्पेस में भी उन्होंने अपने नाम को कायम करवाया। ये उनके कला का पूजा है, और हम लोग तो बहुत ही उनके करीब हैं। मन बहुत दुखी है कि ऐसे व्यक्ति को हम लोग खो दिए हैं। ईश्वर से यही प्रार्थना है कि उनकी आत्मा को शांति दें, उनके परिवार को शक्ति दें, और हम लोग के ऊपर उनकी आशीर्वाद सदा बना रहे। बस यही कामना करते हैं।
भैया, आप दोनों से एक बात पूछना है। आप भी उपलब्ध संगीतकार हैं, तो उसी हिसाब से हाथ जोड़ के आपसे एक प्रश्न करता हूँ कि हम आगे का पीढ़ियों का पंडित रविशंकर जी, उस्ताद अली अकबर खान साहब, सभी को देखा। जैसे पंडित जी के बारे में अभी कह रहे थे कि 90 साल की उम्र में पंडित जी कह रहे हैं कि हमें तो सेंचुरी मारना है। ये जिस उम्र में जाके लोग थक जाते हैं, people usually get tired of living. These people are getting inspired with life to live longer and longer. We could feel that they had that divine connection. परमात्मा के साथ संयोग उनका हर वक्त चलता रहा। ये जीने का जो प्रेरणा शायद उन्हीं से आता है, शायद संगीत से आता है। आप अपने उपलब्धि से हमें कुछ बता सकते हैं इसके बारे में?
जरूर बता सकते हैं। जो तपस्या करते हैं जो लोग, उनके तप में इतना पावर होता है कि वो जो सोचते हैं वो कर लेते हैं। वो तपस्वी लोग थे और सुर को उन्होंने जिया है। सुर, अपने सुर से पूरे विश्व के संगीत प्रेमियों के हृदय को छुआ है उन्होंने, और जो सहलाया है सुर से अपने, वो संगीत प्रेमी या संगीत के कलाकार कभी भी भूल नहीं पाएंगे। जिन्होंने सुर को जिया है, जिन्होंने शब्दों को जिया है, जिन्होंने राग को जिया है, तो ऐसे बिरले कलाकार कभी कभी इस पृथ्वी पे आते हैं। और हमारी तो बड़ी उनसे बहुत पुराना एसोसिएशन रहा है, 50 साल का। और हमारे चाचा जी, हमारे पिताजी, सबसे उनका बहुत संबंध रहा है। तो हमें तो जिस दिन मैंने ये समाचार सुना तो मैं बहुत ही रोया। तो हमारी पत्नी बोलने लगी कि अरे क्यों रो रहे हैं, कुछ बताइए तो सही। तो हमने कहा कि आज दुनिया का एक बहुत बड़ा नक्षत्र डूब गया। बोले क्या हुआ क्या? हमने कहा कि पंडित जी नहीं रहे। और मैं रोता रहा। उसके बाद कई पेपर वालों का फ़ोन आता रहा, टीवी वालों का फ़ोन आता रहा, इंटरव्यू भी हुआ थोड़ा बहुत, लेकिन मैं सबको हाथ जोड़ के बोल दिया कि अभी मैं बात नहीं कर पाऊँगा, मेरा गला भरा हुआ है, मैं बहुत ही व्यथित हूँ, बहुत हृदय में ठेस लगा है। तो हमारी तो उनके साथ इतनी पुरानी यादें, इतना उनका आशीर्वाद, इतना प्यार, इतना साथ में रहना, जोक्स कितना हम लोगों ने उनको सुनाया है, और कितने खिलखिला के हंसते थे हमारे साथ। तो ये सब बातें हमेशा याद आती है। Always we remember his humility and the great person.
Thank you. आप दोनों को बहुत बहुत प्रणाम हमारी तरफ से। Thank you for sparing your time, your memories, your feelings.
सभी को नमस्कार। Thank you.
We have Vidushi Kala Ramnath, one of Panditji's closest disciples. Oh my God, we have another disciple joining from wherever he is, Vidwan Shashank Subramaniam, and both of them were so close to Panditji. We would like to hear, if you have, I don't know who is in a hurry, but maybe we should listen to Shashank Bhai first. He might be in a hurry. His experiences of studying with Panditji, being in his company, Let's hear some of his experiences.
Namaskar, can you hear me?
Well, if you can boost up the volume a little bit, tiny bit, if it is possible.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm actually a very junior disciple to Pandit Jasraj ji, because Kalaji and Sanjeev and all these people have much more and longer association they've had with Guruji. But I'm very honored that I was one of the last few disciples that Guruji taught, and I was extremely fortunate. Where to begin and how to begin is a very difficult thing when you are talking about such a great person. It was in the year 1991 that I met Guruji for the first time in Chennai. And subsequently, I had the great opportunity of meeting him in many festivals across, where I would either go to listen to him or his would be the last concert of the day during these concert series. And one day in 2004, I called him and asked him if I could learn Hindustani music from him. That was about 2-3 days before Guru Purnima. Even Kalaji was there that day. And he asked me to come on the Guru Purnima morning. And it was all a very new experience because in the south of India, we only meet Gurujis, our gurus, on in Dasara time in October. But Guru Purnima and this kind of a big celebration and very formal one, that in the North India is organized in a very formal way. So when I arrived in Bombay, everything was a bit strange because the Guru Purnima celebration was pretty overwhelming because all of his students had come, and of course, gurus deserve that every bit. But to me, it was all a new experience, to be very honest. Later that evening, in the function, when I went to attend the Guru Purnima, I didn't know what to expect. And I got there, and Guruji had just entered the hall, and all his students were seeking his blessings. And I had to leave that day because I stayed in Mumbai at another corner of the town, and I had spent with him the whole day from morning. And I told Guruji, I just came to seek your blessings. I have to go because I have to reach Kolaba where I'm staying. And so he said, no, you're not going anywhere. You have to play. So get on the stage and you play using the tabla player that was there. I don't know who that person was, but I I played for a 45 minutes, and he was extremely happy. But even before this, when I asked him to, when I requested him to teach me, one thing he asked me was, "What is that I can teach you? Because you're in a different system of music. You're already performing for a long time. You also performed for in memory of my father." So then I said, "I have so much to learn from you because I'm a great fan of Hindustani music." But anyways, next morning, formal lessons began, and I went into the world of Hindustani music. Thanks to him, everything was so different. Although many Carnatic musicians often think it is very easy to learn and assimilate Hindustani music, it is actually not that. It is another genre as great or equal to Carnatic music or vice versa. So I had to practically begin from um, the first step, and then gradually Guruji taught me many wonderful ragas, and it was such a, thinking back, it was such a phenomenal experience. He would dwell on notes, the spacing, how to look at notes differently for different ragas. This was a very new concept in Carnatic music. Carnatic music, though, has that concept of the same rishabh being used differently in different ragas, but it was not so spelt as it is in Hindustani music.
Mm.
So this was a brilliant experience, something that was very taxing to understand, because the whole point of a system of morning ragas, afternoon ragas, evening ragas, night ragas, um, all these are not something that are prevalent as a system in Carnatic music. It's not something that we follow. And this particular concept to even understand took me a great while. He was a very generous person who was very patient with me and taught me many things. I made so many mistakes because my mindset was all totally into Carnatic music, though I had heard a lot of Hindustani music. But getting into the, getting a hang of notes and other things in Hindustani music was quite a tough thing. I think in the year 2005 or 6, I went to the Hyderabad festival once again, and Guruji asked me to join him on stage that evening. I said, that day Sanjeev Bhai was also there. So I said, I don't want to make a mess of your concert if I end up making some mistakes. So I would request you not to insist. And he was extremely upset with that. He, in fact, rushed out of the green room towards the stage. And I just followed him and just got on the stage without saying much. And I said, I don't want to embarrass you. I just said this word just before he left. And he was quite pissed with me. And then he just went to the stage, and I said, okay, let me follow. Whatever happens, happens. And during the concert, he was one of the very few musicians in the system of Hindustani music who ever had mridangam players along with the tabla artists, and that gave him a possibility to engage me in a different way on the stage. At a certain moment, he would say, I would like to take a break. You play for 5 minutes Carnatic music and show the audience what Carnatic music is about. So that gave me an opportunity to get into that system, and he would also interact. In the middle, if he found it interesting, he would sing shorter phrases, ask me to counter that, and a lot of interesting moments kind of happened in that concert. And after he got down the stage, he first thing he asked me, "Did you feel it was a mistake coming onto the stage with me?" So that was really a moment where I felt really bad for having said something like that. He said, "Nothing is important than being with your guru, and so what if you do the mistakes? Don't think of yourself at that moment."
Mm.
So, though I had not thought about myself truly, I had thought about him as a great artist, and I shouldn't make a fool of his concert. That was my thought process at that moment. But anyway, in short, many years after that, I subsequently followed him to so many places. Whether I would be playing with him or not, I would take a break, go to his concert location. He would teach me in his hotel rooms. Um, and I became a part of his concerts here and there. Whether I did justice or not, I can't fully say that. But he really encouraged me a lot, and took me to many beautiful concerts of his, and taught me so many intricacies of how to think in Hindustani terms. And this really led to my incorporating a lot of those wonderful ideas in my concerts, whether it be the multiple composition in the same raga kind of concept like Vilambit, Madhyalaya, Dhrit. This is not a concept in Carnatic music at all. We have one composition in a raga and we would subject that to many different speeds, whatever the raga can afford to take. But here, the whole concept of the lyrics being meant for that Vilambit concept, and then Madhyalaya and Dhrit, all this kind of gave me a newer way of incorporating these in Carnatic music, which I was very happy to have found that way. And I mean, you can go on listing. He was a very smart musician, a person who would be very dynamic, and all his past experiences would be brought onto the stage in a flash like that, in situations where he would adapt and bring those um past knowledge into use right then. Where he drew that um, you know knowledge from was a mystery, but it was kind of built in his system. He had absorbed so much about so many traditions, so many kind of compositions, um, and so many experiences of performing with musicians from across genres. So it was, I think, he was a very smart person that way, and in every inch of the way, one could really look at his intent, his keenness of things. Whether he met a person, he would just say the right things to that person. He would never say a wrong thing, and even in the speech, when you really saw him, he would he would just speak so perfectly for the occasion. He would never say one thing extra that could that need not have been said, for instance. So a lot of things. I mean, I've learned from him, and it's been a it's a bit unbelievable that he's not there. But I think one has to really celebrate his long life and contribution, and I think he led a fantastic life, in my opinion. From what I
Yeah, we all agree with that, Shashankar. Thank you so much for sharing.
Swapanji, namaskar. I didn't see you still. Kalaji,
That,
good morning.
pranam.
Namaskar. Nagaraj Rao sir, hengidira.
Next, we would like to hear from Vidushi Kala Ramnath about her experiences of Guruji, his preferences, his sensitivities to certain things, because she spent a lot of time with Panditji in his company doing Shiva. Muted. Kalaji, you are muted, please. Kalaji's audio is not coming through. Hold on. I think there is something. Your audio is not coming through, Kalaji. Not yet. Not yet. While we get your audio fixed, maybe we should listen to Dr. Nagaraj Havildarji about his meetings with Panditji. Dr. Nagaraj Havildar from Bangalore. Panditji, just could you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Thank you, Samirda, and my respectful pronouns to the elite panel of artists sitting over here. It's my greatest privilege to be sharing my humble experience and interactions with the great soul, Pandit Jasraj ji. I have been a humble student of music for the last 45 years. My first ever opportunity to meet Pandit ji in person was way back in 1985 when he came to Mysore Dasara for a concert. I went to the concert more as a listener, but incidentally, it so happened that they fell short of one Tanpura player. Sanjeev ji had come, Abhinkar ji had come. He was on one Tanpura. So I had the most benevolent privilege of playing Tanpura for Pandit ji for the very first time when I met him. I was just making my baby steps into the world of classical music then. But he really encouraged me. Maybe he allowed me to sing दो चार सुर लगाए इधर उधर गाइए. He encouraged me. So that was my first ever interaction with Pandit Jasraj. He was very kind, very nice. From then onwards, all my music learning happened in Dharwad. As you would know, when I was learning music in the Karnataka University, along with my PhD in history and archaeology, Pandit Mallikarjun Mansur was the head of the department. Gangubai Hangal was the visiting faculty. Pandit K.G. Ginde would come from Bombay. Then we had Basuraj Rajguruji. P.N. Barveji would come. V.R. Athwale would come. Pandit Panchakshari Matigatti. You name it, all those big stalwarts. And of course, there used to be very many festivals in Dharwad very frequently. So, along with having these many luminaries locally there, Jasraj was always a permanent invitee. He had left such an impact on the musical scenario of Dharwad that any festival, small or big, he would be a definite invitee there. Just to recall one incident of that nature, in 1987, Gangubai Hangal's 75th birthday was celebrated at Hubli Art Circle, Savai Gandharva Hall. I was the music archivist there in the Hubli Art Circle. It was a galaxy of musicians who had featured in that. It had Kumar Gandharvaji, Mashkur Ali Khan from Kolkata, a young musician then. Malini Rajokar had come. Shrikant Deshpande, the grandson of Savai Gandharva, had come. Firoz Dasurji had come. And Pandit Jasraj was there, Bhimsenji was there. And incidentally, Gangubai sang a very beautiful Ahir Bhair about 5 a.m. in the morning. And immediately after that rendition, Jasraj walked into the green room. He virtually touched her feet. We would call Akka in Kannada. He said, Behenji, hum aisa nahi ga sakenge. I would, of course, consider Pandit Jasraj as a kind of epitome or synonym with Rag Ahir Bhair. I'm sure all of you have heard Aaj To Anand Anand, that Dhrut Bandish in particular, wherein he brings in a very fine blend of Vedic chant on the one side and the true traditional Gaiki on the other side. That's a perfect bridge he builds. So, despite himself being such a qualified, beautiful, established musician, he virtually congratulated Gangubaiji. The humility was there for display for everybody. So, that was the second time I met him. As the days passed, I had the privilege of learning from all these teachers, and I had the privilege of sharing the stage with Pandit Ji at Sankat Mochan Festival in Banaras. Several times I also shared the stage with my dear Shashank in Sankat Mochan Festival, probably in 2016 or so. Then, one more very, very notable thing where I thank Pandit Samir Da for this. We sang together in the sense Pandit Jasraj sang at the last. I was the third musician to perform at the all-night performance at Chhandayan All-Night Music Festival, New York in 2010. That apart, one very important thing I want to share, that the camaraderie that has existed between all these legends, be it Jasraj Ji, Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, or Samir Da and Zakir Hussain Bhai, or our another the greatest tabla maestro sitting there, Sapanda there. So there's so much of give and take between these great souls. I'm sure all of you are aware of Harsha Vidya Gurukul Sailersburg, wherein Panditji used to conduct an annual workshop. One of the participants in the workshop narrated me this particular incident, which is very, very touching. Panditji was teaching a bhajan, Jasraj was teaching a bhajan to all the students, and he came up with a typical phrase in Rag Bhairavi, in that bhajan, and he immediately acknowledged that this was very typical of the Gaiki of Bhimsenji. I'm inspired by him. He didn't have to do that actually, but he was extremely sincere and honest. He immediately acknowledged where it came from, and there was so much of give and take between him and Bhimsenji. For example, when you listen to that short Jugalbandi, Ranga Raliya Karat Sautan se, which they sang for film Akbar My Brother, Birbal My Brother, they just interact with so much of give and take, and as if they have practiced together. So that was one of the greatest qualities. And in turn, Pandit Jasraj would always acknowledge that he was a regular invitee at the Pune Savai Gandharva festival, and he would say, Bhimsenji would always shower his love and affection and whatnot every time I went there. So that was the kind of camaraderie they mutually enjoyed. So himself being a legacy, a personification of legacy, himself being a legend and a wonderful guru, I would say it would be a kind of cultural and aesthetic flamboyance in his performances you would see. He would interact with the tabla artists like Sapanda or Samirda with great elan and ease, and without compromising on which phrases he would sing. And so that kind of he would transform and transport the whole stage into a temple. When he sang bhajans, he would transcend all the mundane limits. He would see God in those singing. He would elevate the whole audience to see the God, and that was the kind of artist we have seen. And as a guru, his legacy is immense. As Shashank ji was just now sharing, he crossed all barriers. He would not think twice to give something that a deserving student is waiting to receive from him. A big band of disciples is left. There is a big legacy for the future, and his music will live on and on and on. And I'm too small to speak about his gaiki itself, but I have been a great admirer. Be it rag like Bhairav, there's a 5 to 7 minute Bhairav, a video clip actually, I'm sure all of you have seen it. He creates such a wonderful morning atmosphere there, those reorbiting tanpuras. He comes right down to Mandar Sharja, and with great ease and mean, in no time he would go to the Pancham, the higher octave. So probably he was a kind of personification of the possibilities of human voice, what a human voice can do. You could see in his gaiki, whether it is Darbari or Charjuki Malhar or Bhairav or Gorak Kalyan, you name it, he would portray a beautiful picture of the raga. He would sculpture a nice image of the raga itself on stage then and there, which will remain as an immortal piece in the heart and soul. So I have been extremely lucky to have met him. I have imbibed so much from him. The spirit, the indomitable spirit that he would play, as Samirda said, that sing for 5 hours. So we the relative, at least by age younger, would draw that spirit from him and carry it on to the next generation. I was not extremely lucky to see him in person too many times, but I've always adored his music. And in Dharwad, I should say, Dharwad was such a vibrant place in those days. Even if Aurangzeb had walked through the campus, I would have become a musician. So there were so many musicians. So it was such a vibrant campus then. So in those days, Jasraj was a permanent entity. He would always come for any festival. That speaks volumes for his caliber, his impact that he left on Kundagol, Dharwad, Hubli, Belgaum. So I'm extremely fortunate to have heard him, seen him, to have lived in the same era that these great masters lived. So I thank Samirda for giving me an opportunity. And those kind of people, well, they don't really die. Everybody's mundane life has to come to an end, but they will live through their music. His music is immortal. His legacy is immortal. Only the human body is mortal, and we are.
I cannot hear anything.
We can hear you, Kalaji.
Yeah.
But thank you, Nagarajji. Thank you for sharing. One thing I think all of us had experienced in his company listening to him, particularly during performance, that one that didn't need to be highly educated in music to appreciate his music. He was singing for all. At the same time, one didn't need to have spiritually enlightened or even close to being enlightened, he could transport his audience
Yep.
to a level that they would always aspire for. And there are many people we come across in spiritual world, in musical world, who we can understand have had experiences. And obviously you understand what kind of experience I'm referring to. But few could transmit, few could actually share those experiences in simple terms that everyone, regular, average people could also benefit from. So he was not just a musician, he was, in a sense, when we, at the end of his concert, every concert, we didn't just feel that we heard some good music. People thought that they had some good experience of music. There's some fine line difference between the two. That when you listen to music and you're able to get close to what you aspire for through music, and he would be transporting you to that level. And there's nothing but only gratitude that we could feel for such individuals. On a mundane level, here we have Kalaji's audio working now, so I would like to hear, we would all like to hear how he was in his daily lives, his preferences, his sensitivities to different things like color, shape, design, and smell, touch, taste. Maybe Kalaji will be generous enough to share some of those with us today.
Pranam Shopanda, Pranam Chamirda, Nagrajji Pranam. Hello Shashank, how are you? You all can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah. So, Guruji, everybody knows about Guruji's food preferences. He was very strict with what he ate because he had a lot of allergies. And so the amount of self-control he had, though he loved food, he would not touch it if it is not good for him, for his voice. Come what may, he will not touch it. And that was something to, I think, for everybody to take note, because I'm a foodie, I love to have a lot of nice food, and I don't think I would have taken such control. And I think that's the reason he was singing till his passing away. He was very strict with his diet and everything, and he did not use any perfumes, and he was allergic to smell. He wouldn't he wouldn't like somebody with perfume to be performing with him because it affects his voice. It irritates. I think the vocal cords get irritated. I don't know. And then he had a strong sense of smell, which is why perfumes were a problem. And even in food, he did not take onions. He did not take garlic. He did not take cabbage, the cauliflower, and there were very limited amounts of vegetables which he could eat, and not much of oil and things like that. And the sense of color in him was, he had an amazing eye for color, because right from his clothes to his appearance, jewelry, and it is something to learn. There was color. He looked at color in every aspect of his life, including music. And I would say, there could be negativity in color and also positivity, but he was extremely positive in that. He had an, what do I say? Everything he did, everything he spoke, everything was, always positive. He would never like anybody saying anything negative about uh, anything in life. I mean, even like maybe it might not happen. You cannot say it cannot happen. You should always say it will happen. It has to happen. It will happen. Then that maybe word also he never liked when we spoke. It maybe it won't happen. You can't say that. It has to happen. And a really loving and caring person, in the sense all of us students, we've all learned from him. We've stayed in his house. He's treated us as his children and along with the family, and has not charged us a single penny to teach us whatever we have got from him. And the art of building a relationship with a person you meet in life for life is something one has to learn from him. Even if he's met somebody for a very short period of time, and then he remembers every little thing and makes that person feel so special when he meets him again, remembering names and remembering where at the place where they met, what they spoke. I mean, it's amazing. And the other thing I'd like to talk about is his sincerity towards everything and anything that he did. And here I think I'll talk about his sincerity towards his music. Like, we had a concert in Namibia, and Namibia was a new place where no music, Indian music, had never been there when we went. And so it was all a mess there. They didn't know how to organize it and everything. And so the concert was a very short concert, and the way they introduced us wasn't right and everything. So Guruji was so upset that he couldn't give his best there. So he told the audience, I'm going to my place where I'm staying. If you all want to listen to me, come there. Whoever wants to listen to me. And then once we went to the place where we were staying, it was in a guest house. He asked us to take out our instruments and sit with him, and he sang. It was a concert, and a few people came who were interested, and he sang a full 2 hour concert. I mean, that vouched for his sincerity and dedication towards his art. He had a sense of humor which was very, very, I mean, it was witty, he was clever, but it was not that kind of humor where you hurt somebody or you taunt somebody. It wasn't ever like that. And the sense of commitment which he had, however sick he was, whatever his, uh, whatever, however he felt internally, not feeling too well, had a cold, couldn't sing. But if it is a committed concert, he will somehow try to do it. And that sense of commitment he instilled in me also. Like when I was in when he I was to perform in Hyderabad, and then I was very sick with about 104 degrees temperature, and I called Guruji Mamaji. So Mamiji said that I don't think she can perform today. She's really sick. We should let her rest. So then he said, no, she's going to go on stage. And then he came and told me, if you make the effort, the Lord will take you through. Just tell yourself that you can do this, and you are doing this not for yourself. You're doing this as a, as an offering to the Almighty. And go on stage, everything will be okay. And every 5 minutes, they would send me, electrol and, something to keep me going. And yes, I did play that concert. And this happened again when, Guruji came to know that I was given the Kumar Gandharva Samman and Rashtriya Kumar Gandharva Samman. And then I was very sick. I had a slip disc, and I decided I probably won't go. He said, I don't care what you do. He called me and he said, you go on a wheelchair, do anything, but you go in there and you are playing. So yeah, so I mean, that is his sense of commitment, dedication towards the art. Art for him was it was his life. It was almighty to him, and there was always this samarpan bhav when he sang. You know, like that was bigger than anything for him. And his life was music. He lived music. He breathed music till the end. And I'm sure even now he's there singing for Lord Krishna there. Again, living music.
Thank you, Kalaji, Vidushi
Yeah,
Kalanath,
thank you.
for sharing such wonderful experiences. Talking about breath, I think that's the last word we will hear from Panditji in the final video collage we will listen to. And listening to that video, I think all of you will realize that he meant what he said, that he was talking about breath control. That was a performance he had at the Chhandayan All-Night Concert in 2019, and he will refer to his breath control. And that made me think that he left breath his pran, nothing but pran. So he left his body willfully. He had that control. But before we come to that concluding part of our tribute to Great Guruji, we would like to hear from Param Pujya Pandit Swapan Chaudharyji about his experiences of being on stage and in several other occasions with Panditji. Swapanji, pranam.
Namaskar to everybody. To talk about Panditji, it's really difficult for me because my relation with him, maybe half of you were not born at that time. I came to know him from 1958 when we were neighbors in the same area. One side was Panditji, Maniramji, and Jasrajji, and Pratap Narayanji, and Maniramji's whole family used to stay. And just across their house was Alibur Khan Sahib. And I was, I was probably 12, 13 years old. Jasrajji at that time was playing tabla. And I had seen him playing tabla with Maniramji a lot, and he was an extraordinary person at that time. He was very, he was very, what do you call, loving for all the kids in the area. We were all playing cricket at that time on the street. It was a very common thing. Sometimes just Raji and join with us. And so I came to know him from that time. And then he was also, studying vocal music at that time with Panditji, and sitting next to Panditji, accompanying him also with vocal music. And so we had a very different relation or bondage for a long, long, long time. And then later on, when I came to the music field, and at that time, from 70s, I would say, whenever Jasrajji used to come to Kolkata, and he used to live very close to our house, and I used to go there and see him, and then played with him with many concerts. But those days, Jasrajji was different, and then with Jasraj's changed what I saw later on. Yes, just it's a learning process. I would say I learned a lot from him. Uh, like I always used to say, "Are Tapan Babu, you have to tune your instrument first, and then surrender yourself." So one day I said, "Surrendering myself to whom?" So he said, "Surrender to Almighty, surrender to your music. And the more you surrender, the your music will come to you closer." There are few things in Jasrajji, I think he visualized it. And I think in the music world, Jasrajji was not a regular person. He was saintly person. He was I would say, a saint in the music world. Um, because we could see that emotion, that that focus. It's so meditative, and he was just probably seeing some superpower and trying to get close to that power. That's what I felt in whenever I played with him. I have never seen him kind of like an ego that I'm going to prove this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I've never seen that. He was very humble person. He was very humble to fellow musicians. He was. Uh, he, I have never seen him putting down anybody, particularly people who are on the stage with him. He was so polite. He was so nice to them always. Particularly, like people who are playing harmonium or playing tabla. Uh, if you play a little bit and then the main artist will look at you, why you are doing this? But I have never seen that kind of attitude from this artist. Never. And playing with him was so much fun because he kind of pulled all of us, and it's like let's go and going with him wherever he was taking us, and that was the beauty what I felt about him and experienced that. But one concert I have to say this. This was last year, I think. It was in Houston, and that day, Pandit was not feeling that great. He was having some breathing problem. He was not well. So he said to me that, Tapan Babu, আজ আমার শরীরটা ঠিক নেই. He was telling me in Bengali that I'm not feeling well. I said, Pandit, I have seen you many times you say this, but when will be on the stage, you'll be a different person, different spirit comes somewhere. And in that concert, he sang so, unbelievable, that power. And then all of a sudden, he went straight down to the absolutely low notes. And then from there, he started taking a turn, he started circling, and he just reached there and he stood there. And I could not play. I had to stop him. I was just looking at him, and I could not believe that it can be possible. And he looked at me, and He gave a big smile, like Jasraj always used to do. And so I had lots of memory, not only playing with him, but being with him. Um, he came and joined to Aligarh College of Music one time. And at that time, he was staying here in Marin County, in San Rafael. And every day I had to go there because he said he used to, like to chat, what is happening. He had all kinds of interests. Being a musician, what we see that musicians, they only talk about music. Jasraji was not like that. Jasraji was talking about, what is happening in India, what is happening in America, what is happening in England, political scene, what is there, what is the news of sports, what is the news of the film line. He had all these interests, and it's fascinating to see that side of Aditi. And he was very childish too, and sometimes he used to do things on the stage, and then he will put his face down and will start laughing, and then immediately he will change the tala, but it's so intelligently and so in a dignified way, but not to put down anybody. Like sometimes he was singing and then all of a sudden he changed the bandage in a different composition, different tala. And it is hard to know what is happening. You stop. But what he used to do, he used to put his hand, and if it is, say, Tintal to Chaptal, he will keep his 5 fingers down like that. If it is, say, Rupak, then he will say 5 and 2. So I've never seen anybody doing that, but he because he never wanted to put down anybody on the stage. He had that um, love or to show his respect. Man, one time I asked him, why you do that? He could tell me straight. He said, no, Sapan Babu, no. You know why I do it? I do it just to show my respect to my music. Think about it.
Mhm.
He was not thinking about me or any tabla player. No. He was not differentiating. He was saying uh, he's he was surrendering to his music. He doesn't want to insult anybody or putting down anybody. So that's the thing about Jasraji's. I will never forget. And one thing is that this was I think the last year. Um, we had a concert in Kolkata, Dovolan, yes. And after the concert, Jasraji said that he wants to sing in the beginning, not towards the end. So it was like first night concert. Probably we started around 10:30, something like that. So after the concert, then I came back home and Jasraji also left. So I got a call from Jasraji when I got home. And he was still in his car. He was driving to his place where he was staying. And he said, Sapan Babu, badhayo, badhayo, badhayo. So I said, what happened? He said, badhayo, कि आपका पद्मश्री मिला. And आपना, if I get your blessing, that is more than my Padma Uh, वो पद्मश्री वो श्री वो क्या है? So and he was very happy and he was the first person who congratulated me. He didn't, he doesn't need to do that, but he did it. So, but, like my 75th birthday anniversary concert, he was supposed to be here. But because of this COVID thing, we had to postpone it. And now we are not going to see him. But as long as I will be alive, Jasraj will be inside me. There's no doubt about it. His music, my relation with him, I could hear his voice. Uh, I think last week I had a talk with him when he was in New York, and he was saying that I'm fine, but I have little problem, but otherwise I'm fine. I'm very careful about myself. I don't go out. I said, please don't go out. Stay home. But then, it's like his time was over, and that I feel bad because that golden era is closed now. Of course, his music will be not closed. It will be there as long as his planet will be there, because through his students, his contribution towards music is a lot what he has given to this planet. And so it will be there, but I will miss him. But I pray to God, wherever he is, make him happy. And give his blessing to us so that we can also understand the philosophy of music.
Thank you, Dada. Thank you, Pranam. Baroko, we don't thank, we offer our respect and that's your feedback.
And thank you, Shamit, to invite me to this. I'm very blessed and honored to be here.
Who could be better fitted to say the final words in this special occasion? And we were so lucky to have the final words from you. After this, we will just watch a short video collage of his performances at the Chhandayan online concerts over the course of several years. We are playing only excerpts from Chhandayan archive because we don't have to deal with the copyright issue.
Yeah.
And in that collage, he's finally mentioning about his breath control, which may make all of us think that he really had that control over pran, over breath, the life throne. And it was time for him to make that journey to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you all for being with us. Let's listen to Pandit Ji and let his voice be the final note of this.
Namaskar. Pandit believes that in the collective soul of all of you inhabits the divine, the Paramatma, the source of all of us. With that respect, we, all of us, bow to you.
रानी जग सो जागे मेरे दाने मामा बाने दाने बारे रे दाने बाने दाने बारे रे दाने बारे दाने नी दाने मामा मामा बाबा ने दाने रे करो विचार सब मिले Thank you, Daniel. Because him I am singing it. Nowadays, singing is a different matter. You know, I have to say I am running 90. That's it. You can understand how much I have a breath control. I don't know. When I tried. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. Jai Ho.